Tonight on Joy News Prime, Ghana National Association of Teachers and others vowed to resist what they believe are attempts by government to relinquish its responsibilities in the education sector to the private sector.
Saying that education is a social good and government must be mindful of this and that it should not be allowed to be considered as a business commodity.
Government, however, says it has no such intentions.
PPP should never be about making somebody rich. Making somebody rich in Ghana so that the children who are poor will stay in poverty, I don't think the New Patriotic Party will ever go on that tangent.
Chairman of software developer SoftTribe describes raid on its offices by national security as needless and blames the current dispute with the Ghana Water Company on failed extortion attempts by a member of the utilities management.
His phone has no evidence.
His phone in particular?
Exactly.
But which evidence do you suspect they were looking for on your phones?
The evidence of the extortion that we claimed.
The demands for extortion?
Yes.
Former President John Mahama has waded into the controversy and condemned the raid. He says it should be blamed on government's manipulation of the national security apparatus. 8 police duty, including 2 MTTD officers killed at Kaswa Bujumbura, earned posthumous promotions.
Departed relatives did not die as criminals, but as gallant officers who perished while performing their official duties to the nation.
In business,
Bank of Ghana launches sustainable banking principles to promote green economy.
Banks to remain sustainable over the long term, it is important that their own internal operations and financing activities meet the present needs of economic agents.
Social Welfare Department appeals for financial assistance to cater for victims in their care, including a child who was brought in by the Domestic Violence and Victim Support Unit with severe burns.
We need financial support and then material support as well to take care of them, because we feed them, we clothe them, we do everything. Hospital medical care it looks up to us to give them good medication.
I'm Mr. Ryan. Joy News Prime comes to you live from the Joy News studio at Kokomlemle here in a crowd digital address GA0992539. Stay tuned in. Former President John Mahama has waded into the dispute between Ghana Water Company and its IT solutions provider SoftTribe, which has seen a raid on the company this week and the detention of its staff. The raid, according to the company, was fueled by the desire of a member of the Ghana Water Company management to frustrate an arrangement which has seen it successfully deliver an efficient e-billing and payment system for the utility. The former president, in a Facebook post, condemned what he described as the reckless invasion of the premises of SoftTribe and blamed it on the governing NPP's manipulation of national security. We'll share the entire post with you shortly. But the chairman of the software company, development company SoftTribe, Herman Chinrihese, on Wednesday described the raid as needless, arguing the dispute could have been settled with a telephone call. He explained that at the heart of the dispute was a failed attempt by a member of the Ghana Water Company management to extort money from his company. The water company has since announced the termination of the arrangement with SoftTribe. But Mr. Chinrihese says the matter is not as simple as that and vowed they will fight to protect the software they created and partly own.
They keep putting in the press like we are hungry and we need their contract. We are partners. We do work, they do work. They do the water, we do our IT. If they don't want to work with us, it is their right not to want to work with us. It is their right. I want to repeat this. It's their right. We are not fighting. This is not about contract. We don't want our intellectual property stolen. If we will fight to the death. We didn't go to school and work 20 years to invent something in hard Africa for some fool to steal it. That's not going to happen. That one we'll fight. We'll fight all the way. So I wanted to clear a few things. Firstly, our guy's phone that I said had been scrambled. A guy who they took in, they haven't returned the phone.
Okay.
But we found a remote way to access it and read what was on it. And we realized what they had done to it remotely at National Security. I'd like to also make a simple point. What in this raid that they came and did, couldn't they have just called, hello, yeah, we would like our data, 2-minute explanation, oh, okay. Why did it require wasting state resources, bringing handcuffs and guns and so on? I mean, it's not even logical. Then I'd like to say this, that, you know, as I said, the best way forward, Ghana government has invested. We have invested. We think we've created a very good product, and the public is there, and they're using it, and they're happy, as far as we can see. We have also picked up leads for other African countries, Lagos Water and so on, who want to buy the system. It is a great source of revenue. This shit could make us $100 million a year. It will be a sad, sad day if these shenanigans cause Ghana government to lose that investment. It will be lovely to have Ghana Water making money from water and also making money from the expertise, because the agreement was that when we go into other countries, we do the technology, they do the training. So all the guys will get consultancies and so on. And Ghana Water as an organization will make a lot of money. This is quite novel. We are very proud that we recommended this model. We could have just gone, taken the World Bank money and gone home. We structured it like this so everybody will win. And Ghana government will end up owning intellectual property, which is a new source of revenue for the government. Rather, we are suffering for this. So there's that. And then the last thing I'd like to say is hashtag bring back our phones. Bring back our phones. Our phones are still with them. Let's do the decent thing. Okay. Decent people, bring the phones back. Hashtag bring back our phones.
So that's the last thing you have to say. But we still have a few questions. In the first place, I have a listener here who says that if I tell you, and I have her permission to read this verbatim, he said, if I tell you that up till yesterday, I was in my compound fighting with Ghana Water officials, you will not believe me. The Momo system is whack. I've made payments of over 600 Ghana cedis in debt. That was not my own, that they have refused to affect on my account. This is so the tip of my eyes, the iceberg with my issues with them. So tell him that the 1% are listening.
I'm happy the 1% are listening. I don't deny the existence of the 1%. Don't forget that not everything is technology related. There's also administrative issues. If you put in the wrong opening balance when the system started, you may have a carry forward of, but it's not the plus this month minus this month.
Well, former President Mahama in his Facebook post condemned the raid, and he stated, I associate with the justifiable outrage expressed by many Ghanaians this morning upon receiving news of a Rambo-style raid on the offices of SoftTribe. We all join in condemning the reckless invasion of their premises and the seizure of electronic equipment, including mobile phones of staff. Regardless of what disagreements may exist between SoftTribe and the Ghana Water Company Limited, the forceful entry into their offices by armed national security operatives is unacceptable. Over the years, SoftTribe has proven to be a leader of local content innovation in IT. They are one of the indigenous companies that have introduced various digital solutions and impacted positively on payroll management and crime prevention, among others. And their footprints stretch beyond Ghana. Recent events appear to confirm our worst fears that the Nana Addo administration is determined to use the national security machinery to not only intimidate Ghanaians, but to whittle away our hard-won rights guaranteed under the Constitution of our Republic. The Ghana Water Company says it will respond to the issues at a later date. Now, stakeholders in the education sector have been discussing ways to stop education from being commercialized so the poor will continue to have access. The move is fueled by recent privatization campaigns being championed especially by some international aid agencies, which the stakeholders believe will eventually result in education being left entirely to the private sector to run, and which they believe will spell doom for the country. According to them, the already advantaged few will continue to remain privileged at the expense of the poor and marginalized in society. There's more in this report from a dialogue held in Accra Wednesday.
The Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, and the Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition, GNEC, raised concerns about the commodification of basic education, which they say is a recipe for disaster. Acting General Secretary of NAT, Gifty Ampambil, during an Accra dialogue with political parties, said the association will resist any proposals that will make an already bad basic education system worse.
We know that this agenda is being driven by the World Bank, and we think that as a nation we have our own priorities and that we should sit down together and discuss these priorities. We are saying that education is a social good and government must be mindful of this. and that it should not be allowed to be considered as a business commodity. There is going to be a widening of the gap between the poor and the rich, that government must provide education because it's a social good, which will ensure inclusion, a means of equitable distribution of the opportunities in this country, and the surest means to eradicate poverty in this country.
The Deputy Education Minister, Dr. Yaose Educhum, who represented the NPP at the dialogue, says his party will not adopt education policies that will leave the poor even poorer.
PPP should never be about making somebody rich. Making somebody rich in Ghana so that the children who are poor will stay in poverty, I don't think the New Patriotic Party will ever go on that tangent. We are not about making people rich at the expense of poor children who are crying every day for help. Poor parents who are struggling, and you want to make their situation worse? I don't think, and I can speak for my other colleagues from other political parties, I don't think any political party will want to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor by introducing a kind of education system that gives advantage to the already advantaged rich.
For the PNC's Bernard Mona, Ghana must have the will to resist any attempts by foreign aid groups to voice proposals for public-private participation in the sector.
We in the PNC don't think that private-public partnership is an answer to the problems in education. We think that we have had sufficient wrong prescription from the Bretton Woods institutions, and we should not take any other lessons from them. Let us practice from our own initiatives. And I'm sure that when we also decide that we can bring out our own story, maybe also title it Ghana's version of A Nation at Risk, we will sit down at a round table to find common solutions to the problems that confront.
Ranking member on Parliament's Education Committee, Peter Nochu, says the NDC has not hatched any idea to privatize public education. Instead, he's been reiterating the party's long-held position of empowering faith-based organizations to partner government in delivering quality education.
The NDC will not privatize the public education system in this country, and what we will encourage, and we have encouraged, is to support the FBOs to help government deliver on quality education. It is important that we get the various organizations very much aware that we have not reached a stage where government should outsource education to a private individual with public funds to run public schools.
The Ghana Education Campaign Coalition, GNEC, however, wants monitoring and supervision of private basic schools to ensure adherence to strict standards. The coalition also wants government to consider establishing public basic schools in slum and densely populated areas so the poorest of the poor in such areas can also have access to education without being exploited by private entities.
The Social Welfare Department is taking custody of a young boy with severe burns on his arms and other parts of his body to give him medical attention and house him till he is reunited with his parents. That may be the core mandate of the Social Welfare Department, except it says it is not adequately funded, making it almost impossible to cater for the vulnerable children that are sent to it. The department is therefore appealing for financial assistance from the public and philanthropists so they could adequately take care of the over a dozen children currently being kept at their shelter here in Accra. There's more in this report, in which we're going to show the boy. Ideally, we wouldn't show him because he's a minor, but the Social Welfare Department is asking for us to show so that the parents would see him and they can come forward.
Good Samaritan rescued a severely burned boy wandering in the streets of Osu, who has been identified as Kojo, and took him to the Osu police station on Monday. The Osu police then referred the case to DOFSU, and subsequently, Kojo was sent to the Social Welfare Department. The Osu State Shelter has taken custody of the boy. Kojo has received some medical attention, but needs critical attention because of the severity of the burns. He still winces in pain.
He couldn't say anything. He could only give his name as Kofi.
Gifty Tekpo, the unit head of the Department of Social Welfare of Dofsu, says the Osu State Shelter needs more money to run the home.
So, for social welfare, we first rescue you. We make sure you are fit, then we take it from there. Once we've been protected with the extract, we know we are safe. Most of the time, we use our pocket monies for such cases. I have lots of them on my table. Our foundation has been supportive. One NGO at Osu is also supporting me a lot. So we need financial support to help such children who come, because in every day we receive a case of such nature. And we are not the only people sending cases there. The place is for everybody. The police send them, social welfare, other districts also send cases to them. So we have more children there.
But like you said, there is more to be done to be able to take proper care of these children.
Yes, we need financial support and then material support as well to take care of them, because we feed them, we clothe them, we do everything. Hospital medical care is it looks up to us to give them good medication.
Aside the financial challenges facing the Osu shelter, it also lacks security. And in the wake of recent kidnapping, the department is concerned and asking the state to provide security.
Right, joining us on phone now is Bright Appiah of Child Rights International. Thank you very much for making time to speak with us. Now, we are reaching out to you because I find the story quite curious. I don't know about you, but to the extent that the Social Welfare Department is appealing for financial assistance to take care of victims in its custody, it suggests a failing of the system. Would you agree?
Of course, there's nothing nowhere that we can use to explain what is happening, to the extent that it is even affecting the attitude of professionals who are supposed to deliver certain services to children. So if they themselves are complaining of financial resources, then it's a perfect description of what the state of our social welfare system is like.
All right. I would imagine that because you work closely with them, you know a lot more about the challenges they are confronted with. Can you explain or share with us how bad the situation is?
Yeah, for Osu Children's Home and even the state of social welfare system in this country is so weak to the extent that they don't have resources to operate with. And if you look at government allocation to that particular department, it's very small, and then also the capacity in terms of the human resource that they need to be able to do the kind of work that they do, they don't have it. If you go to social welfare, for instance, you will not find any clinical psychologists who, by their work, supposed to give them some assistance in terms of the way they operate and all that. And a lot of things are just in a manner that's supposed not to, if you really want to describe the social welfare system in a manner that befits its status. So there's a lot of things that they lack, and that is not helping us. And to the extent that if the workers there begins to complain or begins to use money as a way of not admitting people into the home, then that becomes a very serious issue that we can say that the social welfare system is gradually collapsing, if not.
Ms. Appiah, why do you think the social welfare system has been neglected?
It is a bit difficult for me to even understand it, because if you look at Ghana as a country, we have accepted a social welfare principle as a way to address issues within the social environment. Therefore, we have no excuse whatsoever to make resources available for them to run the system in the manner that it deserves. And because of that, if you look at the Constitution itself, the preamble of the Constitution is premised on welfare. You look at most of the laws and policies that deals with the environment, it hangs on social welfare. So it is very difficult to reconcile what the state wants in relation to the social welfare system. And you would look at government introducing social intervention programs that are in isolation without having a foundation to address issues that exist in the environment. You are giving money for free SHA, you are giving money for school feeding program, you are giving money for LIP and all that, but you fail to also recognize that all these things that you are doing must exist within the social environment. And if you are not doing anything within the social environment to deal with matters that would ensure that the investment that you are making will yield the results, it's very difficult for me to reconcile the why government do not do that. And if you look at the budget allocations over the years, it is very terrible. And I think that it is an issue that we have to open it up for further discussion, and that's government over government questions about how they want to address the social environment for the vulnerable.
All right. Now, Mr. Appiah, at the moment we're dealing with this appeal coming from the Social Welfare Department, and they're saying that they want financial assistance so they could adequately cater for the over a dozen children currently being kept at their shelter here in Accra, including this boy we're seeing on screen. Are organizations like yours in a position to help?
So why not? Why not? We can help. So if there is anything that we can do and we are notified, why not? We'll be able to go to the assistance.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Appiah. We've been speaking with Bright Appiah, who is with Child Rights International, but in relation, something very closely related to the social welfare. Now, some statistics we're getting from the prisons. Basic school leavers are top of the list of persons jailed in various prison facilities for the year 2018. Persons who have had some form of tertiary education are, on the other hand, the least. These are contained in the 2018 annual report on the Ghana Prison Service, of the Ghana Prison Service. We have interesting statistics in the latest Prison Service report. So we have also looking at Christianity. They say 4,000. So the religious background of convicts admitted in 2018. Those who are claiming to be Christians, 4,813. That's 53%, 53.28%. Islam, 1,809, that's 20.02%. Traditional, 1,029, 11.39%. Other religions, 964, 10.67%. Non-religious, 419. And then the total is 9,034. So this regarding the level of education, those in tertiary, 224. And that represents 2.48%. That's the least. Secondary post-basic, 1,427, 15.79%. Basic education, 5,888, that's 65%. That's the largest chunk of people who find themselves in prisons, those with just basic education. Non-formal education, 1,495, and that represents 15.55%. And then there's also those of various nationalities. We have Nigerians topping the list, Togolese, and then Burkinabe, Nigerians, Malians, and Beninese. All right, so we put this out on Facebook, and some of you have been sharing your thoughts with us. So we have Mercy Thompson says, I believe Christianity has highest percentage because that's the religion with most members in Ghana. Let's not take it a different way. Well, that's fair. Ibrahim Ayah says, half education is so dangerous. Just look around you and assess the behavior of people who are half educated. Musin Bako says, we should take a critical look at our penal code. Afari says, how come the non-religious total is 419? Is it the 419 I know, or it's just a coincidence? All right, so you can also get onto Facebook and share your thoughts there. We're taking a break, but still ahead in the bulletin, 8 police officers who died in the line of duty. including the 2 MTTD officers killed at Kasobudumram and posthumous promotions.
Departed relatives did not die as criminals, but as gallant officers who perished while performing their official duties to the nation.
The Defense and Interior Committee has summoned the Inspector General of Police, James Opon-Boenu, to brief the committee on update of investigations conducted into police brutalities meted out to some law students who embarked on the demonstration. The police fired rubber bullets and arrested at least 9 of the protesters who were demonstrating, demanding reforms in Ghana's legal education. The IGP, in an interview with sister station as Empire FM, justified the police brutalities, insisting it was a timely intervention to ensure the crowd did not overpower the security force. But ranking member on the Defense and Interior Committee, James Agaga, described the IGP's justification as disappointing, which would compromise the ongoing investigations.
First of all, what the IGP, what he has done is prejudicial, isn't it? Because they gave us the assurance that they were going to thoroughly investigate the matter. Has he told you whether the investigations have been concluded or not?
So clearly he's coming toward compromise.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if he takes this posture, he's already defended the actions of the police. How can we trust them to carry out an investigation, the outcome of which should be acceptable to all of us? So he has compromised whatever investigations may have been launched into the matter. Or I take it from his posturing that they have not even bothered to investigate the atrocities that were committed, the harm that was visited on the innocent students whose only fault was that they decided to exercise a right that is constitutionally guaranteed. They followed the procedure spelled out in the Public Order Act. They notified the police. The police did not find it necessary to enjoin them. And I'm told that the regional commander actually went to the law school where the students gathered before they started the procession and threatened to arrest them even before they started the march. If these facts are established, I think the regional commander should have questions to answer.
You do not trust the police to do a good job. How then do we come to the conclusion of find the fact of the matter as far as this case is concerned?
Look, we have actually been on the heels of the IGP. We've extended an invitation to him. I'm talking about my committee, the Committee for Defense and Interior.
To do what, sir?
Yeah, because we need to interrogate them on some of these matters, these unfortunate happenings.
Still in Parliament, Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Oquaye, has directed the leadership of the House to set up a 7-member committee to monitor Ghana's progress on the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. This directive follows a statement made by the Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu asking the House to constitute a team to monitor and ascertain whether the government is on track in the implementation of the SDGs. The Speaker, who agreed to the appeal, tasked the yet-to-be-established committee to come up with a report for the consideration of the House. My colleague Kwesi Parker-Wilson has a wrap of parliamentary proceedings.
One of the major issues on the floor of the House today was a concern raised by the Member of Parliament for Asanwase constituency, Alhaji Mubarak Montaka. He raised the concerns about the delays in submitting the budget estimate for consideration. In fact, it became a heated debate between both the NPP and the NDC in the House.
From the mails room, whether a single estimate has been brought in. The Speaker, our colleagues from Foreign Affairs, everybody is here. The Speaker, I repeat, not a single budget estimate is in this House. Which committees? The Foreign Affairs Committee, their estimates are ready. Government machinery is ready. The audit service is ready. Planning is ready. You are asking me where is it? You want me to carry it for you? You want me to give it to you? So for you to stand up and say that, Mr. Speaker, there's no single estimate in this House, it is virtually inaccurate.
If we take our job seriously, budget estimates must not be taken lightly. Bring the documents in that here. Distribute them. The practice where documents come and they just bow and walk away and we don't have copies, it has to stop from now.
So the chairman of the Finance Committee, Honorable Mark Esibeyeboa, indicated that Finance Ministry says by the close of this week, that is Friday, the House will receive copies of the budget estimates for their consideration. Now, the Speaker, who is unhappy with the delays, directed with immediate effect that the Finance Minister quickly submits the budget estimates to the House for consideration.
It is a fact that budget estimates must quickly follow the debate on the principles so that we can efficaciously do our job. I will want you to, please, you are the most senior person here, convey this immediately to the Honorable Minister for Finance that we want the documents and we want them now to approve them for him. And if we have any concerns, to raise it accordingly. This, I believe, is a genuine parliamentary demand. Please, let us be non-partisan about some of these things.
Now, still in Parliament, the Minority Leader Haruna Iddrisu made a statement on the Sustainable Development Goals.
What can Parliament do as a lawmaking body and as controller of the purse and as the institution responsible for budget oversight and as representatives of the people to shape and strengthen the oversight and implementation of plans and programs geared towards the attainment of the SDGs and Agenda 2030. Mr. Speaker, I accordingly propose that Parliament establishes a 7-member parliamentary special ad hoc committee or any number, howsoever described and acceptable to you and the House, tasked with the responsibility to monitor Ghana's progress on the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, so that we will consider progress report from implementing institutions such as ministries, departments, and agencies, and advise Parliament on budgetary allocation and other appropriate intervention to ensure that we are on track in our journey to attain the Sustainable Development Goals.
Members of the House contributed to the debate, and they all sang from the same hymn book, indicating that they endorse and support the call made by the Minority Leader. The Speaker quickly directed that a 7-member committee should be constituted to monitor and track the implementation of the SDGs.
It's important that we should consider how to complement the various structures that will eventually ensure that the goals go beyond wishes and become actual realities. It's important that government should be made to play a positive role in the process of implementation. As well matter, the committee to assist in the development of assessment factors that will enable us measure our progress, deficits, and make appropriate recommendations.
The Africa office of the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, CHRI, is calling for the decriminalization of petty offences in Ghana, saying most are traced from outmoded colonial influences. The country currently has clear-set punishments against first-degree felonies and misdemeanors such as stealing food crops, hawking, and unlawful motor operations. Head of the Africa office of CHRI, Mina Mensah, said such offences not only target the poor but make their plight worse. There is more in the following report.
In Ghana's prisons are not just murderers, rapists, armed robbers, and other hardened criminals. Within those walls are hungry men and women jailed for stealing cassava, young ones arrested for hawking, and other petty offences. Although there is no clear-cut definition for petty offences in Ghana, it is a major contributing factor to the overflowing population in prison cells. The challenge of overcrowding, according to the Ghana Prison Service, exists at a rate of over 48.5% from the previous year. It is for this that the Decriminalizing Poverty, Advocating for Reform of Petty Offences in Ghana campaign has been launched. The campaign is championed by the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative Africa Office in collaboration with the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice, SHRAJ. Head of CHIR Africa Office, Mina Mensah, called for decriminalization of the offences, arguing wrongly targets the poor and vulnerable in society.
If you look at our laws, most of them have colonial antecedents dating back from the British system. The British have taken out of those laws from their books. Why are we keeping them in our books? There's a particular law that I find very funny, insulting the national flag. That globally it's been realized that a lot of the petty offenses that we have target the poor. And it's because of the situations of the poor, because they are vulnerable and because they need to survive. Some of these offenses they commit. For example, somebody goes to a farm and steals plantain or steals cassava. And in our criminal books, hawking is a crime. Stealing is a crime. Okada business is a crime. Disorderly behavior is a crime. Being drunken is a crime. It affects them economically. The person is already poor. You've arrested the person. You've put the person in jail. The person might probably be a breadwinner. And it creates a whole lot of issues.
Organizers are proposing non-custodial sentencing as punishment for these minor offenses, insisting that they will serve both the nation and poor corporates better.
There's many things. One, there's you can do community work, non-custodial sentencing. In terms of fines, if people are already poor, you give them fines, they might not be able to pay. So what you do is maybe caution them, get them to do community service. We need people to clean up our streets.
The CHRI and SRAJ hope to gain public support as they continue to crusade for what they describe as unfair punishment for petty offences. PSCA Nanaya Osafos report for Joy News.
Management of the ear, nose and throat nursing school in Kumasi says they're reeling that the pressure of limited infrastructure, which they say is affecting academic work. Inadequate classroom and residential accommodation compels authorities to move students in batches for lectures. At the school's third matriculation for 70 newly admitted students, Principal Bellings Beyo appealed for support to develop the school's 10-acre land at Sabing Akrofum. Nana Senso Mensah has more on this report.
Was established in 2002 by the Ministry of Health to train specialist nurses for ear, nose and throat treatment. Since then, it has produced over 400 specialists, sharing space and facilities with Kofonachi Nursing and Midwifery College. With internally generated funds, the school has acquired 10-acre land at Adankwame in the Ashanti region for development into a campus. Principal Bellings Beyo says it is time for ENT Nursing School to have its own campus.
The issue is that the premises we are occupying now is for the Nursing and Midwifery Training School, Kumasi. And because of that, we don't have accommodation within the campus. So there is a rented accommodation only for the level 300. When you get to level 400, you have to look for your own accommodation. Anything you want to add? All that I want to add is we are still seeking. We need help, especially financial help, so that we can go on to the land and develop. We have to get a new campus for the school, since we are having challenges with space within the Nursing and Midwifery Training School. So we are asking the public, and we know the ministry has done a lot in establishing the school. The ATI are doing everything best to help the school develop, but we still entreat that philanthropists, well-wishers should come in and help us develop the newly acquired land.
Madame Beyo also identified other challenges militating against academic work and admission of more students.
With space for classroom, library, and as at now we don't have a skills laboratory where we can keep our instruments and dummies for our practical training. So we are still in need of those things.
How is it affecting teaching?
It's the space, because something all students can enter and do at a time. The 70 students currently we are having, and then 71 at a time cannot enter. So we have to move in sessions, especially at the library and the computer lab. With the classroom, the spaces in between the desks are small. Therefore, you could see there is congestion in the classroom. I would say because we don't have enough space, it restricts us the number of students we should pick at a time.
For Joy News, Nana Asansumensa, Kumasi.
President Akufo-Addo on Wednesday promoted posthumously 8 police officers who died in the line of duty. The 8 officers were either run over by a vehicle or killed by armed men. They include the 2 MTTD officers who were shot at Kaso Abudumburam and whose dying moments were captured on mobile phone videos. Now, moving on.
On behalf of the Inspector General of Police and the police administration, I wish to extend our heartfelt condolences and sympathy to the widows, widowers, children, families, and friends of all our fallen heroes. The death of a police officer is not only a great loss to the immediate family in particular, but to the nation at large. This solemn ceremony should remind all of us, the living, of the reality of death. No one can escape the clutches of the grave. Death is inevitable. Death is irreversible. Death is irresistible. All of us will exit this physical world in different circumstances, through different means and different times. Among the things worth dying for is one's country. Those we are remembering today died whilst championing the cause of protecting life and property.
The Ghana Education Service is justifying its decision to buy 400,000 past questions for distribution to candidates of the 2020 West African Senior Secondary Certificate Examination. Public Relations Officer of the GS, Vincent Assefuah, says the decision was necessitated by previous performances of candidates as well as government and who want to see a better performance by the first cohort of the free senior high school policy.
If it was relevant in 1994, it was relevant in 1995, and there's some sort of unanimity as to the relevance of the usage of past questions, then I don't know why the government should not commit itself in buying past questions for its students, especially for the first batch of free SHS students. There is the relevance of the usage of the past questions. Now, government have also decided that because it is the first batch of free senior high school beneficiaries, what we intend to do is that we need to improve the WASSCE results. Last year, when you checked the WASSCE result, we did not have more than 60% of our students passing English. We did not have more than 60 or 70% of our students passing mathematics. In fact, for the past 3 years, mathematics and English results from the WASSCE has been woefully inadequate. That is why we have decided that for the first time, we provide our students with not only past questions, but examiner's report that is included in the past questions, so that students are going to find some basic analysis as to how questions are being set and what is even demanded of them when they are writing the exams questions. Initially, the idea was for us to do it only core subject, maybe core mathematics and English language. But upon further consultations, we realized that it is very appropriate for us to be able to extend the kind of support we are giving to them. So if it is possible, then why don't we give it to them for all those who are doing for all the courses? Every school is going to get 100 copies in its library. Now, if you take St. Thomas Aquinas, for example, if you have about 2,000 students, then what it means is that we are going to give 2,000 copies to St. Thomas Aquinas, including the 100 copies that are supposed to be in their libraries. So it means that St. Thomas Aquinas is going to have 2,100 copies. If you go to Kumasi Anglican today, there's a Form 2 student who wrote WASI. In fact, he wrote the NOVDEC, and that is a free senior high school beneficiary. He was able to get 8 A's.
74 public basic and second cycle schools have received 560 laptops from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology to boost IT education. 43 senior high school and technical institutions in Ashanti and 2 each from other regions had a share based on their needs. 10 junior high schools also benefited from the package. There's more in this report.
5 laptops each for second cycle and 2 for basic schools is under Ken West's support initiative for individuals and institutions. Vice Chancellor Professor Kwesi Obidanso stressed the need to create a technologically inclined human resource to advance the national cause.
We want to at least empower our students at the basic level with the technological skills in order that they will be confident enough when they enter university, not to be overwhelmed by the technological drive that is what we now use to be able to teach our students. And like I mentioned earlier on, if you take architecture, for instance, they're no longer using pencil and paper to draw. They are using the computers to make all the drawings. And sometimes when they get into the university without these backgrounds, they get overwhelmed and rather fall back. So if we provide them with the skills at their level, then once they get here, at least they have some basic know-how to be able to pursue the program of study.
Headmistress of Akomadan Senior High School, Sylvia Newton, who spoke for the beneficiary schools, lauded Ken West for his effort.
We are here to receive a number of laptops for our various senior high schools, and we are so grateful to the VC and its management for offering these laptops to us. It will go a long way to improve and enhance education as we are all expecting, because we are in a world of technology. It will help the students a lot to know what is happening outside the world, or whenever even they are given exercises, they can easily go on the machine and redo research and add it to the knowledge that they have acquired at the classroom. We thank you.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
And that's how we wrap it up on Joy News Interactive. And on Joy News Prime, unfortunately, we couldn't bring you Tech Talk, but we would bring that to you next week. Thank you very much for watching. You have a good night. I'm Israel Live.